live. That's cool.
We're live, Cliff.
I didn't even know it.
Live.
So, and I was saying stuff that I'd say live anyhow. So it's awesome.
No,
We're
actually,
live.
Cliff was about to just finish his Social Security. If you can, Cliff. Folks, this is Cliff Schecter. He is the co-founder of Blue Amp Media. You know why you love Blue Amp Media? Because Blue Amp Media also has friends of the show, like Ellie Leonard. Ellie Leonard runs her Substack through Blue Amp Media. There's David Schuster, who used to be my former colleague when we had Al Jazeera America. And Cliff Schecter, who's longtime Democrat. You tried your best to move these liberals and these progressives in the direction of justice. And he was just telling me how, he's like many of us, he goes, 10 years ago, I thought maybe we could move them, but now this leadership, to me, it's ossified. It's not just ossified. Cliff, the reason why we're not.
I do have to say quickly, I don't want to cut you off, but the key, everybody, is from what Waj obviously just said, is bring in people that are much more talented than you, and you're I mean, you bring in Ellie Leonard and David Schuster, and I can just sort of lay back and, put my feet up, and I'm all good. As you know, because you have Ellie on a ton, because she's brilliant. So.
And then you could just sit there and drink tequila with Joe Walsh.
That's right. That's my only job here, actually.
Why are we knocking the Congress? Why are we knocking Republicans? Why are we knocking the centrist Democrats, folks? Because some more breaking news from hell. We just found out, and now Fox News is finally talking about it, that Russia, as we predicted, is sharing intelligence with Iran to help them target U.S. assets. Russia is an ally of Iran. Of course it would. Now, whether or not it gets his boots on the ground, probably won't, because it's had its own situation with Ukraine, but it doesn't need to. It can send intelligence. It could send weapons.
Yeah.
All right, we know China now, as what we know so far, it hasn't necessarily shared intelligence, but China gets 90% of its oil from Iran. China's freaked out right now, Cliff, because this war and the choking of the Strait of Hormuz, where 25% of the world's oil go through. Well, yeah,
which was predictable, of course, that they were going to do that.
Gas prices have gone up.
I think Trump just said he doesn't give a damn. I guess they're up or something like that. I'm not quoting his exact
I have it right in front of me. Dan Nabash I asked Trump about raising gas price. He said, "That's all right. It'll be short term. It'll go way down very quickly. They're pretty high now." Oh, and then he said, "No, they're not." Let me repeat this. He said, "They're pretty high now." And then he said, "Oh, no, they're not."
And that extra sniff got the extra amphetamines up in the, the good blue stuff up there. And then
I want to give you two more data points and then we'll start. Then today, much like he's been saying, apparently we're fine. Cuba's next. He's telling Cuba, "You're next." He telegraphed it yesterday with the Inter Miami team behind him, Messi behind him. And now he's openly saying, Cuba's going to fall. And then the exiles are going to come home. That's what he said yesterday. And today he said it again. So,
and Marco Rubio being right there, like as the Secretary of State, who's been, sitting there with a fork and knife ready to carve up Cuba.
His wet dream since he was a boy.
Exactly. That's all he thought about.
Wouldn't it be nice, Cliff, if, I don't know, yesterday or the day before, the House and the Senate, Congress, I don't know, exercised its powers through something called, I don't know, a Wars Powers Resolution, and then used its votes to limit Donald Trump? Wouldn't that be nice, Cliff? Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah, I can tell you what happened. They didn't do it. They lost. And we have, of course, had John Fetterman, who I honestly think, I'm not a doctor, but stroke changes your brain chemistry. I don't know if it's that. I don't know if he was just a complete fraud in pretending who he was. But yeah, we lose that vote. You get these pretend sort of, I'm so tired of it. There was a time, I want to tell everybody here, it's not as gray as me, and Waj is younger than I am, though, but like, that there was a species known as the moderate Republican. In fact, I came from New York, and my mom and dad used to vote for Jacob Javits, who was like to the left of half of the Democratic Party as a Republican, right? But Murkowski, votes to protect the Epstein files, votes to let Trump do whatever the hell he wants in Iran and all that, and still calls herself a moderate. Susan Collins, by now, she's still probably making a very squinty, concerned face, and it's, she's going to have to get probably some Botox after she's done being concerned. And then even Tom Tillis, it was wonderful. It was great to watch him rip the crap out of Kristi Noem, but anybody could do that. That's not difficult. Comes to standing up to Trump on Iran, voting against him. Nope. I mean, they're just the biggest So it's like these so-called moderate Republicans that they aren't are the biggest group of cowards. And then Democratic leadership, it's like, hey, I've got this insane idea. Let's imagine I took marketing 101 just for like a semester somewhere, local community college, and I learned some basic stuff about it. And I said, hey, we should have a basic message and branding around what it is we want people to know about us and what we want people to know about the opposition, a contrast. And we're going to repeat that every day using emotional language and telling stories. And instead of just sort of throwing out, you know, half phrases and participles and things that don't make sense and telling Donald Trump he should be ashamed of himself because that really works.
Yeah.
Well, uh, I just what are we doing here? I mean,
And the fact that you had 4 centrist Democrats yesterday, the same players, Cuellar, Golden, and the vote is even so much more painful. Did you see that without those 4 House Democrats, this would have failed? And as you know, Cliff, and those who know, this doesn't just happen. How is it that the number magically fell to 4 Democrats? How is it that magically, when it came to funding DHS after the murder of Renee Nicole Good, the number fell to the 7 centrist Democrats that they
and they were the same people. Like at the time, I started going off, and I'm like, oh, Cuellar, guy was a criminal who got pardoned by Trump. His brother is now indicted. Seems to be
Oh,
a
I didn't know
family
that.
of
Why is his brother indicted?
I think it was bribery, mail fraud, a couple things. It seems to be a family affair, the Cuellar family. And this is a guy who's the most right wing, pro gun, pro like anti choice, just lunatic, Republican. But he runs as a Democrat, and we still, even when he's a criminal, accept him back into the caucus. And then he got busted. I don't know if he was doing something with campaign finance, like laws after that. So you got him, the criminal, Jared Golden, who as I got so angry at the time, I did a rant on this because apparently Jared Golden's life is if it does, it's much like conservatives. If it doesn't happen to me or around me, then it doesn't really happen. Like he was like, no, he was the only Democrat to vote against universal background checks, which 90% of people support, and assault weapons ban. And then in his hometown of Lewiston, there was a massacre, and he's like, now I realize I was wrong. And it's like, great. You had to have it happen. You couldn't look across the country at these massacres going on daily. It had to happen in your home. So I guess there has to, the Iran war somehow has to make its way to Lewiston, Maine before Jared Golden can decide that he's going to do something. It's those same, I don't know what language you use on here, and I apologize. Those same 7 assholes who always, there's variations. Sometimes it's 9, sometimes, but they undercut us on everything.
Everything.
Um,
Again and again and again, it's the same group of people. It's just like, what do you call it? The merry-go-round. It's the
yep.
same corporate, wait for it, their own words, centrist Democrats that we have been told time and time again, Cliff, and we're told again, we need them. And I said this now bluntly, and I don't think we need them at all. Because if you're telling me that we need a centrist Democrat like Manchin and Sinema, I'm going to tell you now, what's the difference between that and a Vichy Democrat? What's the difference between that and a MAGA Democrat? Because these same people, in addition, right now, folks, listen to what they did. They had an opportunity in the House, at least, to check Donald Trump.
Yep.
4 of these, and they're not stupid. They saw the votes. They said, "Oh, you need 4. We'll give you the 4." Right? These centrist Democrats paid by corporations also get a lot of money from AIPAC. These are the people that we're told, "Whoa, no, we need to run these people in these districts because without them, the Republicans will win." And let's just look.
I
Nancy
worked
Pelosi.
up in Maine. Geographically is a huge, maybe the biggest district in America. It is mostly rural. You've got a lot of French Canadians living on that side of the border. If somebody ran a populist campaign as a regular person who worked out in that area, they absolutely could win. So it's just a bunch of crap that we need some sellout like Jared Golden to go there and do it. They always sell us the whole we need a moderate, and that's because the whole machine of money gets behind the moderates. But you end up, who often ends up doing better? It's the people like Sherrod Brown who overperformed the ticket by 8 points here in Ohio and is running again. And if we have anything close to a fair election, if they don't call in ICE or something, then Sherrod Brown, I promise you, will win this coming election. I got to meet John Tester the other night at at the event we were at in D.C., the State of the Swamp. Tester was one of those guys who, yeah, did I agree with him on everything? No. Did I like Doug Jones, or I think of a few of them like that, but they were, at least in my memory, they're always with us on the votes where we needed them. They were never the cinema mansion types
That's
who
right.
just were trying to get attention. Like, I'm not asking everybody to have the exact same policies and be the same on everything. There are people, I mean, as he likes to show, like he showed the 2 fingers, he lost his 3 fingers to a combine, John Tester, which he still uses, by the way. He was a generation farmer there, and they put it, you may remember when he first was elected, they ran a moderate Democrat against him, and he ran as a populist and he won. And we may not agree with the folks like him on everything, but you can tell the difference where that line is between the ones who are there for us on the important votes, there on the moral votes. I mean, Doug Jones was in Alabama and was to the left of Kirsten Sinema. So I think that kind of tells you what you're dealing with when you with that Sinema, what she was about, and what Manchin just wanted to protect his coal mine. I think he was making half a
I
million
think
dollars
he
a year
sleeps
from.
next to coal. He doesn't sleep next to his wife. It's just a
No,
coal, and it's like Gollum. He goes, "My precious, my
he
precious."
does. He's like,
Uh,
he
by
likes it. He loves
He
it.
licks it, he loves it. Well, we don't wanna we don't kink shame, but, if you are sacrificing and throwing Americans under the bus for your precious coal, then I will mock you. Kurt Bardella's here. Kurt says, "Cliff, you should run."
Thank you. I don't know if there's a district, and I appreciate the support, Kurt, but I don't. I think I'm too much of, to use a phrase used before, of an asshole. I think I'm better at these kinds of debates and discussions because the whole pretending that certain people on the other side who act entirely in bad faith are acting in good faith. Like, I can't put up with that. Like the whole
Cliff
pretend.
Cliff, the
Yeah.
president of the United States is a rapist who most likely allegedly raped girls and is a vulgarian. The
Yes.
bar is low. The bar is low.
That's a good point. I can't, surpass that. I mean, I literally
There you
sent
go.
some.
Great minds think alike. Kurt said it right after I said it. Kurt wrote, "Donald Trump's a pretty big, a-hole." I have to say a-hole because 'cause I'm fasting.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, I'm just saying, like, I sent out something today on notes where I was just like, "We just lost 92,000 jobs, like, from a guy that went bankrupt and, was a con man. We we just, and this isn't funny, killed a school full of little girls,
200 girls almost
because
in
of
a row.
his illegal war." And now you've got the release of that document where Donald Trump, I mean, I don't even know how to say, I mean, he's basically yelling at a young girl, calling her names because she apparently bit a part of him when he tried to, this is alleged in there, rape her. And it's like, so we have an alleged child rapist running an illegal war and killing schools full of people and destroying American families by destroying our economy. All that coming from, I mean,
We're gonna talk about Epstein in a second, but, let's talk about these centrists because I wanna drive the point home, Cliff. And when I do this, and I don't know, if you've been getting this, Blue Anon is now aggressively coming after me. And what I'll
um,
say, and I'm gonna give you just a
well, I
couple of
know you're very much a wilting flower, so I'll
yeah,
be
I
there
tell you,
for you.
I cry.
If
I
you
sit
need
there
me
and
to get, this Jew is there for that Muslim, man. We can form a sort of our own little kind of like multi-ethnic Avengers team.
yeah, we call
Um,
it the ethnic Avengers, the circumcised Avengers.
that's right, and we
Uh,
get Kurt in there too. I mean, I don't know if he's circumcised, and I
yeah,
don't know
see,
if I wanna
I
ask
don't
Kurt
know.
that,
Sorry, Kurt. Well, yeah,
but he,
no capes, Kurt, no capes. But I'll just be like Erica Kirk. I just sit there and I wipe away my tears with and do the fake scowl cry. Um, I'm gonna
God,
make the
she's
case
crazy.
here because it's right here, folks, right now. These centrists, these alleged centrists that we are sold, these alleged centrists that we're said that we need them to Cliff's point. Oh, you can't have a populist candidate because there's no way these. Let's be honest, Cliff. They're always talking about white voters. These white voters, these unicorns, they won't agree to a populist message. They don't understand the words oligarchy. These words confuse them. That's what Lisa Slotkin said, right? But then you saw AOC and Bernie test it out, fight the oligarchy tour. Graham Plantner, I think he's a problematic candidate, but he is running and people really like him in Maine
I'm
because
just
he's
gonna
running.
say because I think I can speak up here. This, and I'm not religious, not whatever, but I am of Jewish extraction, and I'm sorry, people are allowed to make mistakes and come back from them. I think what he did, I don't think he fully understood, or at the time he was a kid, and if so, when I was younger, if people look at some of the things I did when I was college age, God help me. Um, So I'm saying I want Klenner because I'm looking at him. He's learned, he's grown. We can't hold things against people forever. And apparently Janet Mills hasn't, because the other day, here we are in the middle of this fire, this 14 alarm fire with ICE killing people in Iran and Venezuela and this and that. And she's like, I think the filibuster needs to stay. I'm just like, oh my God. That's like so 2 years ago. Like you're not at the point you still want the filibuster. Like,
So so
so I
so
mean,
but, Cliff played the Jewish card. He led with that Jewish tip. See what I
I
did there? See what
yeah,
I did
very
there?
nice. But I
Thank you.
did for a reason because people I hear people speaking for me saying that I should be offended by Plattner because of that, because of the tattoo. And my answer to that is I think I can decide what I'm offended by. I'm offended by somebody who right now is sitting and saying neo-Nazi type things and saying things like Nick Fuentes or whatever. Graham Plattner put something on, didn't fully know what it was, and now they're trying to hit him apparently for going on a podcast that he shouldn't have gone on. And it's like, again, I would rather have a populist who doesn't have the cleanest and most perfect record, who didn't know they wanted to be a politician from the age of 6, like Al Gore or John Kerry. I shouldn't say that. John Kerry went and served, and actually Al Gore served too. But let's be honest, if you're a child of a politician, or Evan Bayh was probably born in a suit, to
Good
go
talking
way
point.
back there on
He
folks.
goes, "Excuse me. Wah, wah,
Right,
wah.
exactly. Wah, wah, wah.
I meant wah."
And that is not again, yeah, when the whole machine of the party and all of the money and the super PACs get behind them, well, shockingly, they win often, but it is so fake because if you look at the numbers, all of the economic numbers will tell you that 85% of people in this country want paid family and medical leave. That like 70 something percent of people want universal health care. No more of this letting them screw. Obamacare was a good first step, but clearly they're just going to keep messing with it. So why don't we just say, okay, you won't accept it as it is? Good. Now let's get to a multi-payer or a single payer or whichever system we can get through, but it covers everybody. Done. Like these are the things that people want. And run on them. And if you run on them with emotion, if you sit there like Chuck Schumer and you have the glasses falling off your face, you're like, "Wow, I think that the 27% in this direction." No, but if you sit there and you tell a story about somebody who could not get paid leave and lost their job and lost their home, of which there are many people falling into this, and you tell stories and explain it to people, they'll understand. Like, you can use emotion, you can evoke it, you can tell stories, you can then fit the statistics into that, and people will listen, and it just gets so this bullshit that you need to run again. Sherrod Brown won here multiple times and overperformed. If Kamala had been closer, Kamala lost here by 11 and change, and Sherrod Brown only lost by 3. He overperformed her by over 8 points here. He still almost hung on. And now that was when Trump was more popular here and all of that. Tester again overperformed the top of the ticket by something like 13 points. He lost by like 6 or 7 points, and Kamala lost there by 20. So, we had the populists do better. It's what people want.
Cliff is in Ohio, folks, and if you look at Graham Plattner, some people are asking, will Plattner go like Fetterman? I don't think so. Fetterman, I'm not a doctor, but based upon everything we've read, the evidence that we've heard and read from people who are close to him, he's not well. The
Right.
stroke did a number. There's periods where his wife was concerned about him. There was a great expose done where
Yep.
staffers are worried about him. He just like disappears. He cries. The man is clearly not well.
And I read that his wife went in and to talk to the staffers, like, crying, and I read this in a couple places.
Yeah.
So, again, I don't these were a few different reputable people, like reporters who I trust on these things, crying to the staffers like, "I don't recognize him anymore."
Yeah.
I
So
don't know.
that's the difference with Plattner. Yeah, and what's interesting, I think, if we set aside his problematic retweets and the tattoo, he's a white dude in Maine. And Cliff, you are in Ohio filled with white dudes, and what the
There are
rest of us
lots of white dudes. You see the way I look, my
you're a
complexion?
white
Lots of us here.
passing Jewish man. Yes, to white nationalists, you're not white, but yes, you're a white dude also. What
I
we
can
have
pass if they, and if I walk by them with blue eyes, they don't fully know. So
Yeah, yeah,
that's
you as long as you sit there and just, a little bit of a goose step next
I
to
was
them
gonna
and
say
they'll
a goose step a bit every once in a while. I just stop and do one of
A
those,
little
and
bit
like
of
they love me.
praise it, you little MAGA, wear a hat, and you'll
Eat
pass.
some
But
bratwurst. I know how to win these guys
he
over.
knows. He goes. This Jew knows how to blend. Uh,
Exactly.
but what we've been told, and this is just the blunt, honest truth. I'm gonna take away the nonsense and the fillers, and just let's go cliff notes. White America is centrist and moderate and safe. White America in the Rust Belt are real Americans. White Americans like Cliff, who live in real America, are scared by fancy words like the broligarchy and the oligarchy. These white
That has
Americans
multiple syllables. What does that
can
mean?
never be woke. Instead, we have to give them not just oatmeal, but the watered down oatmeal. We have to be Republican light, and we need these centrists because what these centrists and this centrist vision where we stand for nothing, where there's no bold vision, like you said, on healthcare, there's no bold vision on ICE or abolish ICE. We're just gonna be vanilla, milk toast, watered down gruel. And because we're not as dangerous as Donald Trump, this is the path to success. However, if we, God forbid, I don't know, lean in, if we, God forbid, switch up prevent defense for blitz, if we, I don't know, run on a populist agenda, if we, I don't know, go bold 10 toes down like Mamdani or even a Plattner or other folks, it's too scary. These
Right.
whites, these centrists, they won't vote for us. So we have to make love to Liz Cheney. We'll never actually have a Waj or a
That
Danielle
was an image I didn't need, but
or
okay,
a
go ahead.
Cliff. We will certainly never have a Palestinian on the stage. Those are gross. Ew. We'll have a Leon Panetta instead, because that's what'll win over the kids. And look, I just wanted before
Everybody loves Leon Panetta. I mean,
who the kids are raving about Leon Panetta.
that's what I'm
Folks,
saying. I mean, he goes places. I
it's
mean,
let me
it's
tell you
like
the
it's
centrist.
it's like Duran in their heyday. See what I did there? I had to go all the way back to
80s. But yeah, I'm so old I knew it. Just check out these centrists that we've been sold our entire life and are still being sold. I want to give you 4 examples. I'll head it over to you, Cliff.
yep.
Yesterday, the 4 Democrats who kept who voted to keep Donald Trump from being restrained and allowed him to keep bombing Iran without congressional authorization, and now he's expanded it to Cuba apparently. Jared Golden, Cuellar, Landsman, Vargas, Landsman from Ohio, all centrists. These are the Democrats who voted for the SAVE Act, which will disenfranchise tens of millions of people, including married women, who changed their name. Jared Golden, Henry Cuellar, Ed Case, Marie Glusenkamp Perez. These are the 7 Democrats who voted to fund ICE and DHS after ICE killed Renee Nicole Good, Marie Glusenkamp Perez, Jared Golden, Henry Cuellar, Tom Suozzi, Vincente Gonzalez, Laura Gillen, Don Davis, all centrist.
Well, there's 3 names that I heard in all 3 of those in there, and they seem to be the 3 that out of the whole bunch of them, if we're going to put anybody sort of, in sort of a large, God, the words never come to me. Want to? Let's just put it this way: I want to put 3 of them in cannons and shoot them out over the wall, and export them from both the Democratic Party and really the greater United States of
You're actually
America.
less violent than me. I said fire them into the sun.
The canon, if we strengthen it, if it's like a James Bond version, like
Tilt it up a little
Moonraker,
bit.
maybe we get it. Maybe it reaches we get them out of the atmosphere. I think we got a shot. Seriously, like what are they there for? And you're right. Like the Republican margin is so small that if in the House, it's like Mike Johnson, it's small, right? It's like Mike Johnson monitoring his son's porns. Okay, sorry. Which, by the way, is the creepiest thing in the world, and I still haven't gotten over. Clearly,
Can you just
um,
tell people that for those who don't know that reference?
so Mike Johnson admitted this because he claimed it was biblical, not, the stuff about Jesus feeding the poor or helping, sitting with lepers or whatever. But apparently what Jesus wanted Mike Johnson to do was to have a deal with his son. I have 2 sons, so this is really difficult for me and repellent. A deal with his 2 sons that they would monitor each other's computers to make sure they weren't using porn. I don't believe that's actually what was going on there, but I I don't wanna go any further. If you make a deal with your dad that has anything to do with porn when you're a teenager, maybe just don't tell anybody about it.
Yeah,
Maybe don't.
maybe Moses, Mike, just do your best not to. But see, the thing with
So
Moses. Go ahead,
Yeah, go ahead.
continue.
Well, I made that metaphor and then I got us lost on the whatever. My point was the margin in the House is so ridiculously small that if these 2 or 3 idiots wanna go over there who voted for all 3 of those things, let's start with the 3 of them, see if some of the other ones can learn some things and just go. I mean, I know Golden is retiring, he's not running again. Just
But he does still have ambitions for higher office.
I think he probably is gonna I mean, I was surprised. I don't know if he's running for governor or not. I figured he'd do that, um, in Maine, but yeah, no way a senator from Maine, no. And again, we've just look, it's like what corporate media does when they sort of that's what centrist is. It's that there's 2 sides to everything, there's both sides. Centrist is like a made up word. What does it mean? What are you if you're a centrist? They can't tell you. I mean, there's it's just branding. It's garbage.
Well, ask them
And
what they stand for, Cliff. What's your policy? What's your agenda?
right,
What's your
right,
Project 2028? What's your policy for immigration reform? What's your policy for income inequality? They deliberately play possum and say, we're not Donald Trump. How has
right.
that worked for 10 years, Cliff?
Yeah. Yeah, it's all been awesome. It's worked out great. I mean, look, I will say, to just I always disclose this stuff. I wrote ads for Biden in 20. We pushed, not to claim I was like one of the top people, but a lot of folks pushed him to finally use the F word when he said semi-fascist, and that was even like, oh my God, we finally and and yet, even he, I think I'd argue, and you can argue with it, he was pushed to the point where he passed a bunch of relatively progressive legislation. I mean, the infrastructure bill was necessary. We had 2 bridges falling down. It's probably why McConnell supported it because he's in Kentucky, in northern Kentucky to Cincinnati here. There are 2 bridges that were structurally unsound. But
No, I've always look. I give Biden credit where credit's due. His economic policies were very progressive, and
yes,
furthermore, people, I keep the receipts. His economic agenda actually would have helped a lot more people. It was the progressives who actually stood 10 toes down and tried to get it through. Do y'all remember who came in at the last second and killed it? Can you tell him, Cliff?
which particular legislation? There was Kristen
In the
Sinema and
Senate,
Joe Manchin. I mean, Sinema and Manchin together
Sinema and
made
Manchin,
sure. I'm sorry.
Sinema and Manchin, the
Yeah,
centrist.
they could have changed rules. We could have gotten rid of the filibuster and boom, like because when you think of that, just like when you think of the majorities that Obama had between 2008, 2010, and all the stuff, even though I'm glad she's leaving this Nancy Pelosi's leaving the stage now. What I say about her is got took, supported these centrists in a way that hurt our party.
She did. She did.
Never should have been the
He's the one
face
who
of.
backed Cuellar, Cliff. Let's
Yeah,
remind people.
I know. She never should have been, the commu I mean, you can have somebody different. What she was amazing at was corralling votes. She's on the Mount Rushmore of vote counting and all of that. But you can do that and not be the person who goes on TV to speak to people when you're not very good at it, and not be the person who chooses who we're running in various districts, that when you don't know anything about the district and just think the more moderate or centrist, sorry, person will win. And again, what she did in passing that legislation was great, but what we had 59 and even 60 votes for a little while there, and I know there were some Kent Conrads and Ben Nelsons in there because we had, we still had some of those Democrats who were more conservative, but they had more than 50, and if they had gotten rid of the filibuster, I mean, immigration reform and getting choice as a law, right? And universal background checks and family and medical leave. I mean, then you don't have this Tea Party revolt that eventually turns into Trump and whatever because people are so desperate because government isn't working for them. It's not do because McConnell played as the evil person he is, played it exactly right. If we block everything, they're just going to blame all of us and kick out the people in power, and
Well,
that's what happened.
You're in Ohio, Cliff, and what we've been told is, this is my commentary,
You don't have to keep
is
reminding me, dude.
no, but, like,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
we have
I'm
been
kidding.
hijacked.
Politically, we leave something to be desired. Let's just say.
We're put in a headlock for the past 10 years and we've been told the following: "It's either us or Trump. Shut your mouth, vote for us." We put in a headlock saying we need the Cuellars and the Jared Goldens and the Mansions because at least they vote for the judges. And so we can't even imagine or dream of a populist candidate because at least these centrists, they'll win races that Republicans usually win. And at the very least, they'll come through once in a while. But then I just gave you these examples. They have screwed us over on the SAVE Act. They just screwed us over, gave Donald Trump more ammunition for this war, which is now wants to expand to Cuba. They have thrown us under the bus after ICE has killed us. They take money from corporate Democrats. They take money from AIPAC. They take money from Palantir. They throw liberals and progressives under the bus. They're more comfortable taking a photo with a Netanyahu than they are with Mamdani. I'm not making that up.
No,
And then we're told, well, the only chance that we have to win over some whites in Ohio is this milquetoast centrism. That's the only chance we have. We cannot hit them with a popular anti-oligarchy, tax the rich, Medicare for all, F wars type of populist candidate. That's too scary. Cliff, as a representative not just of all Jews, but of all centrist white folks
I
in
will speak for
Ohio,
all those groups combined. Yes.
yes, and who drinks real coffee in real diners. Uh, what
Yes.
is your response to that centrist Democrat, not just centrist Democrat, but the DNC line that they sell the rest of us?
My response to it is, and it is not Ramadan for me, so I think I can get away with this. 100% full of shit. And all you would have to do is look at some of the folks who have won and who've handled issues in the manner in which that they have. Andy Bashir winning down. I mean, yes, he had help from name recognition from his dad, but did not run as this fake moderate, throw trans folks under the bus, throw all these people. Didn't do that. And you
Andy Bashir, folks, is the Democratic governor of Kentucky.
Yes, getting a Democratic governor of Kentucky these days, I mean, honestly, it sort of would be like if Stephen Miller, became mayor of New York City. I mean, that's kinda what you're looking at there, and the fact that Andy Bashir won there. I can't think of her name right now. Is it Nancy Johnson? Am I getting it right? In Kansas? Same deal, did not run as this sort of fake moderate. This is just it's stupid. It's the usual game. The people with money want everyone to believe, and it's not that like, "Oh, we're regular Midwesterners and dumb," just or regular Southerners or regular Westerners or whoever you're talking about. It's that most humans don't pay as close attention to this stuff as you and I do because we've made it so hard for them just to get by that they're busy trying to ensure that their kids have a shot at going to college, that they're taken care of while they're at work, that they have health care, that they have food, that they can put gas in their cars, which all cars should be electric, but we didn't do that either by now, and none Tesla, of course. And we did, so we've created this thing where people aren't always paying close. So they don't know what centrist is or this. This is again brands sold by the DNC and DCCC. It's garbage. It's tell me what you stand for, and the folks that stand up there, a couple of whom I named, another one. By the way, another great one. I thought of Sherrod Brown. I thought of Tester before. I mean, Tammy Baldwin, who keeps winning in Wisconsin, not some faux moderate, and she does it by standing up as a populist on issues. An open lesbian wins in Wisconsin. Again, if you stand up and you don't just give yourself some BS label, but actually tell people the 3 or 4 things you stand for and why the other side, who is as a collection of billionaire predators. And again, don't make the mistake of thinking it's just the Epstein crew. We have taught these people to be super predators since the 80s, whether it's the private equity guys. The best ad ever made on that, by the way, was Newt Gingrich against Mitt Romney, with those guys on the stage who said we felt like we were building the stage. You felt like we were building our own caskets. People like Mitt Romney, we legalize that. You swoop in, you load companies up with debt, you steal their pensions, you put people out of work, you destroy whole areas. If that's economic, that's financial, predation is what it is. These people that prey on our democracy, they're preying on our voting right now and trying to what they did in Dallas County, down in Texas. They're trying to prey on our economic system, make sure they get all the subsidies, cut funding for kids so that kids can't eat, and get rid of SNAP, get rid of whatever. I mean, we have these billionaires who they walk between the raindrops, they fly in their helicopters, they don't live the lives we live. And people need to realize, like, if you think that you're worth, like, you've been working hard, you've been putting money away in your IRA, you're worth $1 million or 1.1 million or something. If you think they view you any differently than they view somebody who is stuck living on the street, they don't. We are all like, think of it as they see us all. If you ever saw The Matrix, that's what we are. We're fuel
Yeah,
for them.
biofuel, gruel.
Yes.
Soylent Green.
And I don't care, right, and I don't care if you may have $5 million, you're still that. They don't care. They aim to not have democracy. They've said it out loud. Elon Musk has, and Peter Thiel. They come from apartheid South Africa. They've made very clear what they believe, and the rest of us are supposed to be their servants. And that so if we realize that and have the economic policies that take on specifically the billionaires, the predators who are destroying our economy, who are monopolizing it, which Teddy Roosevelt, no liberal, had a lot of things to say about. Essentially, trusts were the same as communism. It destroys capitalism. I mean, you can't have 3 companies in one area or, in media, for example, 6 companies that control 90% of what we see, hear, read, play. Like, that a healthy democracy cannot have that, and that's every industry now. So, break up the monopolies, tax the living shit out of the billionaires, make capital on the same level of taxation at the very least as income. Do roll back these things that happened during the Reagan years. I mean, buying back your own stock. Can you imagine like how ludicrous that is if you're like, I have options. I feel like paying myself. I'm going to buy back stock. Before 1982, that was considered stock manipulation and that was illegal. Maybe we should do that again. So maybe they take that money instead of buying back their own stock. They do crazy stuff like R&D, pay their workers. I mean,
You
these are
flaming
these.
lefty communist.
I know I'm
Calm
a
down.
communist. I know.
I now have to interject after you said that they should pay their workers with their obscene wealth that has driven income inequality. And speaking about billionaires, and I want to connect this now to Ohio and also the Epstein files. But before I do,
Yes.
folks, the job numbers right now came out today. Terrible. There's now, forget job growth, there's job loss. Thanks to this Iran war, like we predicted, you don't have to be an economist or a foreign policy expert. What happens if you choke the Strait of Hormuz? That is a narrow strait that has 20 to 25% of the oil supply going through it. Oil prices have gone up. What's also gone up? Grocery prices have gone up. Who's made more money as Americans have lost money? Billionaires, the
Yep.
1%, the Epstein class. So don't take it from me. Here you have a white man, Cliff, in
I am a
white
white man. Yes.
in white Ohio who drinks real
We're
coffee
very
with
white.
other whites in real diners, and
I do.
he's telling you a populist anti-billionaire message that actually promises transformation, not reformation, that promises accountability and shakes up the system, will actually win over these whites. In fact, Cliff, I am old enough to remember that Donald Trump is one of the, if not the least qualified people to ever run for president, is a man who actually came in and promised that he would be a bulldozer and shake up the system, which is why so many people.
Well, he was for the East Wing,
Oh,
but
yeah, he literally did it, but unfortunately did it to our American democracy. But
yeah.
the same people who were voting for Bernie Sanders said, okay, we'll vote for him. It's because for the past 10 years, what people want is an anti establishment candidate who's willing to shake up the system and tear down and rebuild institutions that are the architectures of their oppression. The
The system
DNC,
isn't working for I don't mean to interject,
no,
but
go ahead.
it's not working for most people. So why do we expect they're gonna in the way, it's the Democratic Party is being the conservative party trying to conserve that. I mean,
Republican light.
yeah, I mean, yeah, and again, I don't wanna say it's all. I mean, whenever I talk about this, AOC and Ted Lieu and, there are a bunch of Democrats, Jamie Raskin, I just wish we could get them in leadership, have them leading the way because there are some in there that get it. And that number is growing as we are seeing some more primaries and we're seeing some more people when they drop out or being replaced. And look, this class of Senate candidates, if we could get a bunch of them elected, are pretty good, you
Look,
know?
we could flip North Carolina with Cooper. Tallarico, we could flip in Texas.
Yep.
Tallarico, folks, listen.
Peltola could win in Alaska, I think, right now.
Consistent messaging with Tallarico. Look what he said when he came out. Top versus bottom,
Yep.
1% versus the rest of us. And this is where, Cliff, you can tie in, and I said this to Ro Khanna, you can tie in the Epstein class, which is still going to be the number one story, the Epstein scandal. It ain't going away.
Nope.
And now we see it is the same class. It's a big club, as George Carlin said, and we ain't in it. It's the
Yeah.
Epstein class. It's the 1% of the 1%, who it seems like quite literally are raping everything and everyone with complete impunity, getting away with it with their
There
fingers.
is my message when I refer to when I say, like, we should if the DNC was a functioning organization, they would look and say, "The billionaire predators and Donald Trump," and that would be their
That's
thing
it.
all the time, and that's it.
No.
That's all you need to say because people eventually would understand, "Oh, you mean private equity too? Oh, you mean the people attacking, getting rid of USAID so 600,000 people die." I mean,
Oh, you mean Peter Thiel, you mean Elon Musk, you
right,
mean
Elon
Donald
Musk
Trump,
committed a genocide
Howard
is what
Lutnick,
he
you
did.
mean Epstein, the world's
Yes,
worst
you mean
supervillain.
Bezos, who goes and, he joins his wife, and I'm gonna make the argument, you can see if you wanna disagree. Between the 2 of them, I believe they now have more body parts they did not begin their lives with than the ones they started their lives with, the 2 of them.
I still think they're a distant silver and bronze to Kristi Noem,
That
who,
may be true.
I don't know if I told you my theory, I think she has enough foreign substances in her face, this is a deep cut, that remember the movie Total Recall, Quado, that comes
Yes,
out of the
the
chest?
face that
Yeah,
comes
but
off.
I feel like her like, Quato the mutant was actually very wise and
Okay,
smart
watch. Whether you want me on or not, I'm coming on, like, a lot more because anybody who can get into the pop culture stuff, then,
he's
you
the
have
leader
to
of the
be. You can
rebellion.
look back to The Matrix and to Total Recall. They saw it all coming, I'm telling you,
And
man.
I'm and, like, we're in the same sync, this old generation the old generation saw, we saw Skynet, we saw Terminator, we saw
Yep.
2001,
We knew
so
what was gonna happen. I mean, I even found a way to work Duran Duran into things here, and
I'm
that was my
convinced that
first
her face
concert
is
I ever
Quado.
saw in the 6th grade, and my dad took my sister and me, so, or 5th grade, so,
Duran Duran's got bangers, man. Duran Duran's
Yeah.
still a good music. The Total Recall, all these movies still work. For those who haven't seen Total Recall, the mutant Quado is the leader of the rebellion. So I'm convinced that after she gets fired, the face will finally jump off. And like, and I'm
But
convinced the
see the
face,
old one. The newer one, no.
the
I
face will
like Kate
stay.
I like Kate Beckinsale, I do, but the newer one did not like, when they did the remake of Total Recall, now you gotta see the Arnie original. Arnie
Open your
gave
mind to me, Cliff. Open
That's
your
right.
mind.
I mean, dude, talk about impassioned speech, again, I get it, like, Arnie was a Republican, Arnie was this and that, but talk about somebody who didn't just turn out to be, like, a centrist in the end and spoke out. I will give him credit. When he, before the reelection, Trump got reelected, was talking about how Nazism broke his dad,
Yeah.
and that thing he did, and his dad would come home a broken man
Yep.
because of what they did to him, like, I thought that was so powerful, and we just had more people coming out and telling those kinds of stories. Again, like the worst part of all of this, Wash, is that it's all so easily solvable, and we just have these just like we have these obstacles in front of us. This group of, again, this predator class, Epstein class of people that prey on everything and everyone. They're the fake charter schools that take money out of our school system, and then you find out this actually happened in Ohio, by the way, with a group called White Hat. They got run out of here. They took all this money. They gave all these awards to Republican office holders, and then, of course, we found out they were spending money instead of on computers. They were like going out to strip clubs with it, stuff like that, because they were preying on our school system, just like the people who prey, as I said before, on young girls, just like the people who prey on, your personal finances and will come in and destroy your company and your pension. Like, they're of a mindset, this sociopathy, this lack of empathy, this I must have power and I will destroy and control everything. And that is the small group in control. And if we would message that, as you said, the same people raping everything, same people who are the predators, they're the same club. They all are the same
And they
people.
give money to both sides of the aisle, Cliff, and
They
they
do.
give money to Democrats, and they're raising super PACs, and they're raising nonprofit organizations. I've called them out, and all these psychopaths are now spending more than $100 million on pro-growth, anti-deregulation ads, and getting people like Sherry Bustos, the ex
Oh,
P
she
triple C
sucked.
chair,
Yeah,
Democrat.
she always was a sellout. Yeah.
But that's the folks, I want you to know, to Cliff's point, why don't they message on what is clearly a winning message? You see it with Plantner, you see it with Mamdani, you see it all across America, is because it's not in their
Zach
interest.
Walz in Iowa, who's way ahead, running as a populist, and
They'd rather
he's
crush these
openly
people.
gay.
They'd
It's
rather crush
Iowa.
them, Cliff.
And guess what? That's not an issue, right? Because he's running as a populist, which is why they hate him. They don't like Zach Walz. They don't like Plattner. They don't like any of the ones who are running it. And guess what? They're all winning. Like, Plattner's numbers are through the roof right now.
It doesn't matter, folks. You're exactly right. Because people, even like Mamdani, right? They're like, many Jews in Mamdani, young Jews, are like, I don't agree with him, those things. But you know what? He has a plan to make life more affordable. He has specifics. Sure. Even with Plattner, they're like, "Yeah, I don't like the tattoo," and sure, he's not experienced, but you know what? He's speaking to what actually ails me, and he's willing to take on the system. Look at Donald Trump, folks. It's all
Yep.
BS. It's all garbage. He's a con man, but he at least went on an anti-establishment populist message. But it's the same class that feeds both sides and uses their wealth to rape and pillage. And this is where
Yes.
I want to connect the Epstein class. And since you're in Ohio, I think you know where I'm
Can I
going.
say one thing quickly? Because
Yeah.
I just wanna make a point, and I think this is an important one. I, as somebody who heard stuff about Mamdani, was skeptical at first, and then took the time to listen to him, to read and learn. And what I saw was, again, everybody wants to paint a picture that we're all supposed to have had the perfect political positions from the moment we were born, again, like Evan Bayh, Wow. I don't know. With some of the things he said, like a while back, as somebody who's Jewish, bothered me. But guess what? Like with Graham Plattner, I'm an adult, and I think I'm an adult. But point being,
You're adultish.
I'm adultish. We grow up at some point and realize that if we expect everybody to always have had the perfect positions on everything, it's bullshit. And we all know our personal lives have been messy at times. The thing about Mamdani was, to me, I saw how he reacted. He grew and he learned, and he what we can people can disagree on the state of Israel. Okay, well, let's say not right now. I mean, right now it's being run by a Donald Trump, by a fascist trying to stay out of prison. So, I mean, there's no disagreeing. Bibi Netanyahu is a war criminal, but people can disagree otherwise if it's under Yitzhak Rabin or something, whether on various aspects of what the state of Israel should be. And I think that is a debate that can happen and should happen, that people should discuss as adults again. But as long as it's that's where the debate is, and the debate isn't going into anti-Semitism, then I'm fine with it, and that's where it should be. And Mamdani, you could see in his record as he kind of grew into who he was, and so that's why in the end I was like, "That's my guy." I mean, I grew up in New York City, by the way, so
No, but
you
it's
keep
yeah,
giving me all
I
this credit
appreciate
for
you sharing.
Ohio, and I did move to Cincinnati for the love of a good woman, but I grew up in New York City, so I still pay close attention. And Mamdani won me over because I saw what he became, you know?
And I appreciate you saying that with your background because I think that's where most people are. They don't need perfect candidates. What they want are fighters. They want authenticity. They want people who are willing to stand for something. They're willing to. They're like, all right, I disagree with three of the things you say, but you know what? You are actually calling out the problem. You're taking on the villain, and you're actually promising at least to fight for something.
Right.
I'll support you. And that's what we saw with Mamdani. And that's what we're also seeing with Plattner, folks, which he's not the perfect candidate. I'm slightly troubled by a lot of this stuff. Not slightly. I am
Yeah,
troubled
I
by some
don't
of this.
like it. I'm not saying it's perfect, like, it's great, and I didn't like some of the stuff Mamdani said, but you need to look, and again, earlier on, you need to look at folks overall and see and try to figure out, and it's not character matters. And we've if we haven't learned that, because the it seems to be that when you fill out your resume to be in the Trump cabinet, it's sort of like, have you either raped a child or hung out with somebody who did? Yes. Have you threatened people, or have you financially robbed people? Yes. I mean, from Hegseth signing an agreement with a woman to, who we just fired, Mrs. Shoot the Puppy in the Head, to all of them, like, you have to be so your character matters. And I looked, and you have to make this judgment, and sometimes they trick you. I'm not saying it's easy. I looked at Mamdani in the same way I've looked at others, and I saw the character of who he is today, as I see with Plattner, and that is what I believe in, because I believe character will determine what you will do.
Uh,
And you were going to say something before, I think, about
no, yeah, yeah.
billionaires or centrists, and I
Speaking
cut
about
you off. I'm
character,
sorry.
the utter lack of character. And I want to give this example because you're in Ohio and we're speaking about the Epstein class. And yesterday, folks, we've
Ah,
been on
Les
top of.
Wexner.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll get there in one second. We have Ellie. I was on with Ellie, and we talked about how the Justice Department, for those who haven't known, because there's 19 fires around the world, but real quick, um, as you've seen, folks, this Justice Department is engaged in a cover-up. They haven't released all the files. One of the files that was really missing, and people said, "Why is this missing?" Were three of the four interview summaries of a credible witness, an accuser, who said that when she was 13 to 15-year-olds in the 80s, she accuses Donald Trump of sexually assaulting her. She was trafficked, through Jeffrey Epstein,
And to
and
say quickly, as David Schuster wrote in his piece, the FBI doesn't just, because he wrote a piece about this, randomly invite somebody back 4 times if they're not credible. If they're interviewing you 4
four times.
times, Yes, they see you as a
So
credible witness.
So there
Go
was
ahead.
4 interviews, and then last summer, folks, there was a 21-page slideshow internally that the DOJ presented. This woman also received a settlement in 2021 from Epstein. A settlement is not admission of guilt, but it's important worth knowing. Now, for those who haven't followed the story, the Justice Department, and we had Roger Sollenberger twice on, he's the one who broke it, he found
Mhm.
it. They only had one of the 4 summaries of the interview. They scrubbed the other 3 that happened to mention, oh, Donald Trump. 2 days ago, Pam Bondi, the House is subpoenaing her to come and testify about her handling. And then just randomly, a day after that happened, in the middle of the night, they dropped these other 3 interview summaries. And one of them, folks, it is a graphic, disgusting description of what Donald Trump allegedly did. Speaking
That
about
was what I was getting at earlier, and I didn't know what, because again, like, I'm uncomfortable even, it's so repulsive, when you have, I mean, you don't have to have children to find, I mean, but it is just, it's so
vile.
repulsive that so, I mean, yes, and it was I mean, in detail, that what he was doing and the names he called her and what she did to
And
prevent
it's an
him.
MO, Cliff. It's an MO of his pattern of behavior. This man is
Exactly.
a rapist, a man who was held liable for rape. But speaking about the Epstein
Also
files,
bragged about owning pageants so he could peek in on 15 and 16-year-old girls. That
3 to
seems like
4
the kinda guy that might do this kinda thing.
3 to 4 girls who now women have said that when Donald Trump was an old man, he went into, because he owned Miss Teen USA and modeling agencies, much like, Epstein and him started, owning modeling agencies. When he owned Miss Teen USA, folks, people forget, I wanna bring the receipts. 4 girls who are now women said, these are teens now, that he went into their dressing room. Cliff,
Right.
would you ever go into the dressing room of teenage girls?
Like, you couldn't force me to, unless honestly, I mean, in all seriousness, unless somebody was in the kind of medical distress where they had to, where I was the only person who could get them to a hospital. Otherwise, the thought of even going anywhere near like a girl's locker room, it's just, it's repulsive, and the thing that is the worst, you bring up Ohio, and it's like, we have, and I don't know if I'm getting ahead of you here by
No,
bringing
no,
up
I'm
Les
what I'm
Wexner.
saying is you're talking about the billionaire class, you're talking about the connections, you're talking about how they use money, you talk about how they use money to influence politics, how they use money to go after philanthropy and buildings. You are in Ohio.
Right,
Wexner, tell us about
right, so
Wexner and
Les Wexner,
how
I thought, growing up in New York, I have too many connections to the whole Epstein thing. I mean, not me, but
I was about to save you
put my
before you
name in
saved
there
yourself.
all you want. I'm just saying I know people personally. It's upsetting. And not like we're close friends, but I had to work with them or know them or whatever. Um, and and so I'm like, "Oh, I'm out in Ohio now. We should be fine." Turns out this is the other epicenter of it. Les Wexner's a billionaire. He made his money on Victoria's Secret, which is essentially women mostly naked for men's pleasure. And he's the only one of any of these billionaires who went so far as to actually give Epstein power of attorney over his freaking money, which is insane to me. Magically, his name was Mark. I can't think of his last name. This professor at Ohio State, because he went to Ohio State. So here's this whole disgusting connection I'm going to make for all of you. He went to Ohio State Wexner, and his name is on all these buildings there and whatever, which they're trying to take his name down. And there was a professor there who magically was getting envelopes with $25 to $75,000 from Epstein to do research. So who made that connection to Ohio State? I'm sure it couldn't have been Wexner. And on top of all of that, you have the infamous rape of wrestlers there. Well, a guy
Jim
named
Jordan.
Jim Jordan, right? Jim Jordan was was the coach of the team. You've had 3 different wrestlers come out and testify, one in front of the Ohio State House, that Jordan had called his brother. He didn't mean like, my brother. He meant like his actual brother who's on the wrestling team with him, and begged him, the words he used, begged, cried, pleaded, for him to not say anything, and all of this. So 3 wrestlers, another coach, and a referee, all who came over. And why am I saying all this? Because it may actually be connected to Epstein, which is just insane. Les Wexner, so the doctor there who was raping these kids, and clearly Jordan knew about it. I'm sorry. It's alleged. How there hasn't been a trial there, I don't know. But this doctor, Richard Strauss, who was doing this, um, in his there's so a number of the victims have sued Ohio State and for various financial settlements and other things. And Wexner tried to get out of his subpoena to testify, and he couldn't. So Wexner may be at the epicenter of the Epstein thing and knew what was going on at Ohio State, knew that Jim Jordan knew, still supported, he supports almost all Republicans. There are some few Democrats, but huge $100,000 he gave to John Husted, who's currently running against Sherrod Brown right now.
Yep.
The Brown people are hammering on that. You have Jim Jordan, as I said, involved in this. And guess who in that hearing where Pam Bondi was acting like Pam Bondi, the House Judiciary Committee, where they all were just some of the best. I mean, Jasmine Crockett, Ted Lieu, Swalwell, some of the people, whether you like their, who are best at ripping. I don't think Saul actually did very well in that one, but there are some others who, best at sort of taking on Republicans when it comes to in the hearings who were there. Guess who was chairing that? Jim Jordan was chairing the freaking. It's like it's everywhere. He's chairing a hearing on the Epstein stuff, which Les Wexner, the guy that probably supported it, no, definitely supported him, is connected to and is now being forced to testify in this trial of this rapist doctor of the Ohio State team. That is how big this all could be.
I really appreciate that. I set you up and you hit it out of the park. Because we just want to give you folks. It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
We ain't in it either, man. Like
And
and again,
you just trust the evidence of your eyes and ears. I try my best on this program to never get conspiratorial. When we have facts, we say it's a fact. When it's us doing commentary and speculation, but follow the money. And with Leslie Wexner, follow the money. It literally, his name is stamped all across Ohio.
yep.
And Leslie Wexner is the one who gave Epstein hundreds of millions of dollars. He's the one that gave Epstein the $70 million townhouse in New York as a gift, as one does. The townhouse,
Right.
one of many places where
Waj offered me something like that.
yeah. I
I
gave
felt a little
you a
guilty
coffee.
accepting it. But
I gave you my half-drunk coffee because that's what happens when you're poor. Like, here, Cliff, out of love.
is it
Wexner
good
gave him the
coffee?
$70 million townhouse in which girls were raped and was surveilled. And Cliff also brought up, it's a very important point, that Leslie Wexner, as one does, gave this man his power of attorney. Leslie Wexner got deposed, still sharp as a tack. Leslie Wexner pretty much runs the state of Ohio. In the state of Ohio,
every Republican, just so you know, and again, it's not to say he hasn't given to some Democrats, but people should know every single elected Republican right now in Ohio, I'd never heard a stat like this before, has accepted money from Wexner. Every single, so I'm assuming that's every member of the state legislature, county officials, like the dude is giving money to every Republican here.
and Cliff, because you're in Ohio, talk to us about how his name is everywhere.
Ugh. Well, again, it's on hospitals. What do these guys do? It's like what the Koch brothers, do, or other people do. Museums. He took this money as he was allegedly, I guess I still have to say, raping kids. And again, Ohio State, there's a big fight because of their former president, who, by the way, has been fired like from I don't know how many different universities, or pushed out in controversy. Gordon Gee, he was at Vanderbilt, he was at like West Virginia, whatever, said this is just cancel culture. It's like, yeah, it's cancel culture, not wanting a rapist's name up on the building. But he's all over Ohio State. That in Columbus, everywhere. Like the malls that are there bear his name, and he's built them, and all of this stuff. And obviously his company, The Limited, is there, which is Victoria's Secret. I think he may have sold it since then. I don't know, but point being, he
Former
built that
CEO, yeah.
empire. It's everywhere so especially in Columbus, which is about an hour and a half north from here. It is throughout, including Ohio State, but also in other parts of Ohio. You'll just go somewhere and it'll be like the Les Wexner, the hospital ward, or what is it what they do in the movie Airplane? See, I'm going to go back again. The Ronald Reagan Home for the Mentally Ill. That's what you have. The Les Wexner Home for the Mentally
Folks, it's a big club, and this is how they launder literally launder their sins. And real
Yep.
quick, a very quick, I got to run, and I know Cliff, I kept you on. First time Cliff was on, 2,000 people watching, and we're going to shamelessly promote
I'm
Cliff.
excited, man. This I because you and I we used to do that Nerd Avenger thing, and that ended. And I'm like, I haven't been on with Waj in a while, so
I
you
saw
know.
you at State of the Swamp, and I really appreciate you reaching out.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
uh, folks,
I always
another thing.
like that you take this on seriously. You don't fucking back down, obviously, when it comes to criticizing the Democrats who suck, and you have a sense of humor. And I need all of those things to get
No,
through.
it needs we need all of us. I just want to say the way that this works, real quick, is Leslie Wexner, as Cliff said. Look how his name is on everything. We just found out this should be a bigger story, but there's like 47 fires in the world. Another billionaire who was allegedly named as one of the rapers of Virginia Giuffre, Glenn Dubin and Eva Dubin. Glenn Dubin and Eva Dubin have used their money to put their name on the Mount Sinai cancer ward. Through their connections to Mount Sinai, that's how Jeffrey Epstein and his rapist friends were able to launder free medical services. So imagine what's been happening in Ohio.
And Dubin, because I was reading a bit about him, guess what business he was in? Why, he was in private equity. He went and took over companies and pillaged and loaded them up with debt and destroyed people's lives. And
And that's how
gee,
Epstein made his money,
and as
by
I say,
helping
who
them.
helped him? Who helped him sell that company and who helped him finance that company? Why, it was Jeffrey Epstein. I mean,
And who was the financial institution? JP Morgan.
yes,
And then
JP
who
Morgan
turned
too.
around and did business with JP who turned around and did business with Epstein after he was a convicted pedophile? JP Morgan.
Like, he had like 64 accounts or something insane. Like, what did they think he was doing? Uh, I mean, we know because they don't
Uh,
care.
real quick, Cliff, are you okay? I gotta run, but I want to bring on Lev real quick because Lev has an announcement to make.
Oh, Lev and I hadn't met him before. We bonded a bit at that State of the Swamp because I am a quarter Jewish from Odessa, and so I am extremely psyched that Lev is made his announcement that he's running, and you can consider this quarter Ukrainian Jew all in behind you.
Lev, what happened to you, man? Why are you becoming a sellout politician? I could trust you. I used to be able to trust you in your sources.
You know what, Waj? I decided that it's time to put my money where my mouth is. You know, a lot of people talk the talk. It's time to walk the walk. And one thing I am not is a politician. I am not. And Cliff got to meet me, and I'm glad we got to meet at the event, Cliff.
That
And
was great.
it's a great time. But and you, I'm glad I got to meet you also, Waj. But I can tell you that I'm not going into Congress to become a sellout, you know, or to do this as a profession. I'm doing this because it's time. It's not about policies. We might not agree on a lot of policies. I'm going in there to be able to take Donald Trump out. I'm going out in there to be able to help out, weave out the corruption we have in Congress right now. I'm going out there to fight for the people, for their voices, just like I do here on Substack. I want to do it in Congress. I want it where it matters, where, you know, for the survivors, everything we're doing, nothing is going to change. And this is what my platform's all about. I'm going to go anti. I'm not about taking any special interest money. No
You
super
wouldn't vote
PAC
for Henry
money.
Cuellar as leader, would you?
Huh?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, well, no, I'm saying to you, you know, that's part of where I'm going to do, especially what's going on in Venezuela, what's going on here in South Florida as the hub, where I'm sorry, Susie Wiles, where Pam Bondi, where it all came from, how it's all connected, how right now all of a sudden you're seeing this, and it's all going through this unique District 27 here in South Florida, run by Maria Salazar, and it was a community that's incredible, that is being lied to, and it's enough is enough, like we've been talking about, and it's time to make a difference. So my run is not only for my constituents in my District 27, but my run is for each and every American out there. This is a national run, this campaign, right? I've heard since I announced Trump is already getting his minions like Laura Loomer and everybody ready. They're getting the war chest out there to try
She
to,
may
you know,
chain
it's great.
herself to your front door, so just
Oh
be
yeah,
careful.
no, yeah, you know, I'm hearing already. I actually had a sitting congressman and a past congressman call me and literally beg me not to go after Salazar. that she's Trump's darling and this would be war. He will never forgive it. I said, bring it on, baby. I said, bring it on. I said, we're ready for it. So,
Lev, can you tell people real quick, specifically what you're running for and where, because they're asking?
yeah, I'm running for District 27 in Florida for Congress. It's Maria Salazar seat. I'm running as a Democrat, and I need all the support we can. We're running a grassroots movement. It's at levparnas.org, basically. And it's everything I've done on my platform here at Lev Remembers. This is what now we're going to be running on the same platform. It's about speaking truth to power. It's about bringing facts. It's about getting justice, accountability. It's about getting this corruption out of there. And it doesn't matter if it's the left or the right. And that's one thing I want to make sure. I'm running anti-establishment, both sides.
That's what we
It's
like to hear.
about a change. We need the change for the people. And the one thing is, I'm not a politician, like you said, Waj. So that's what's the benefit. I have no loyalty to one side or the other. My loyalty lies to the people, just like it lies. Think about how my loyalty lied to my subscribers and to my platform. Now think about that, how it's going to lie to my constituents and to each and every American out there that I'm going to be fighting for in DC.
One quick follow-up question. Now that you've announced that you're running, what will happen with your Substack and your scoops?
It's a great question. One of the reasons I am running is because I want to be able to use my information on a more national level, and like we've always spoken about, to be able to make more of a difference instead of just breaking it here and trying to have our community distributed. By having this platform, I'm going to be able to use my information on a much bigger, more powerful. That's another reason why I'm running. But Substack is still going to be my family, my home. This is a place where, is going to be a place where I'm going to run information. Obviously, my compliance team are working on how to properly do it. And I will be making announcements to make sure that, just like everybody else, to keep up everybody. So definitely Substack. But the one thing I want to let everybody clear, and I'm asking everybody to do, Substack is our home and it is our community. But it is right now the war we're going to fight to be able to win these houses. And not just one of the other reasons I'm running is not just to win 27, it's to help every other midterm elections out there. To be able, I'm going to travel around the country, help other congressional seats, help government, Congress seats, also senator, also, here down in Florida, we have David Jolly running for governor. So there's a lot of important races that besides my own that we're going to be running. So the one thing I ask each and every one of you is to go out there, and I know you have X accounts, you have Twitter accounts, because a lot of this fight is we need your support. We need you to fight those algorithms out there. Even though, I'm not asking you to go out there and listen to their crap, but when we go out there, when we go post our messages, when Waj, or Cliff, when I go out there, we need your support on X. We need your support here because we're going to be, for the next 6-7 months, it's going to be the war that's where we got to fight it. Not, the information, we'll keep it here. This is our family. This is where we bring up all the information. But, we need to make sure, we're going to help Vindman out, all the races, every all the Democrats down, and there's going to be other Democrats we're going to primary. I'm telling you right now, that's part of it. And watch, some of those races, we speak about that all the time. So I'm definitely not a establishment guy. I'm there for the people. So it's going to be out of the box campaign, not your typical campaign.
Especially, can I say this? With him talking right now about Cuba, I have to believe that that's somewhat about him trying to win, because after he got his ass kicked, or they did, like 20 points in that mayor's race, and the Cuban Americans deserted them. He thinks he can, partially, I think it's winning back Cuban Americans in Florida.
You're 100% right with that.
I don't think he's going to be successful, folks.
I don't either.
Definitely, we're not going to let him.
I have to run, folks. But Lev is running as a Democrat. Lev surprised us all with this. He's running for Florida's 27th district. We're gonna do properly once I come back from my trip, Lev.
Yes.
We'll talk about why you're running and what's happening. And folks, real quick, Lev, promote yourself, and Cliff, shamelessly promote yourself. Lev, what's the website people can find out again? Repeat it.
Yes, it's levparnas.org. It's simple. Lev Parnas, my first last name.org. And please, any country, every dollar helps. We're doing a grassroots movement. No corporate money, no super PAC money, no special interest money. It's going to be just us against them, and we're going to kick some butt. And I'm going to be going live on Joy Reid later on today at 7:40.
Great.
And Ben Midas and the Midas guys at 3:30. So just get ready. We're just getting started, folks. We're gonna take our country back. Thank you, Wash.
Awesome. And
Cliff.
you can, I'll give you two things. You can find me at Blue Amp Action here. So it's or Blue Amp Media, sorry. It's blueamp.co. So very easy, blueamp.co. And as I sent Waj a message earlier, and I'll tell you both publicly, when I kicked off my Substack a year ago and it went viral and crazy, and we had nearly 100,000 views, we did a 12-hour live stream because I'm nuts that way. And we got Heather Cox Richardson, and we got Mehdi Hassan, and we got all these folks. So I already sent something to you, Waj. I'll send something to you, Lev. We've already got Steve Schmidt booked. We've got Julie Rodzinski booked. And so we're going to do a full day about the midterms and how we're going to have this election. Trump is not going to suppress our votes. He's not going to crush the election with his billionaire predator friends. That will be on Wednesday, March 18th from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. And so folks should know about that. We're going to do the whole day. I'll be in touch with both of you guys because I would obviously love for you both to be on. So
absolutely, you could count me in. I'm in. Awesome.
Folks, thank you all for watching. Go back and watch this if you can for the 2,200 people. Talking to Cliff Schecter. Cliff is a real white from Ohio. That means he's a real American, unlike me. And if you think everything I've been saying,
and they find out I'm Jewish here,
and he has a Jewish
they kind of kick me out of the club, but I can fit in and pretend.
Yeah, he's like Blade the Daywalker. He has all of our strengths, none of our weaknesses.
Look at that.
And if you don't believe me, what I've been saying about how the corporate Democratic establishment, how the strategy has failed, about the billionaire money, listen to Cliff, a real white and a real Jew from real America.
And a Democratic consultant for years who had to work for some of those folks who sold us out, but also was lucky enough to work for a couple great progressives too. So it is real. There are good people like Lev. Support them, not the fakes.
And Lev is also a white and a Jew who can pass.
But in Florida, that's cool.
In Florida, and he's not taking any PAC money. So, folks, thank you all for watching. Go back and watch this. This is the Left Hook. I have a 25% off special right now. It's lefthook.substack.com/special. Everything is free, no paywalls. But if you can, $3.75 forever. If the money's too much, no problem. I'll be back in 1 minute. I strongly recommend listening. You guys loved him last time. David Morris, a really good tech reporter who's talked about the broligarchy, the techno utopia, everything that Cliff was talking about, how these sociopaths, their dystopian worldview, and how they see the rest of us as just biofuel and people to be used. He has a new piece out talking about Epstein and crypto and how he was so involved in crypto precisely to destabilize the world and make money off of the rest of us without any accountability. He's up in 1 minute. Cliff, Lev, thank you, sirs.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care,
Happy
guys.
Ramadan again.